Good morning, fifth graders. So today we are going to start dividing by fractions. So we've been talking about multiplying with fractions. Today we're going to start talking about dividing. So let's take a look at our first example. So the first part we're going to use some tape diagrams, and then the second part of this we'll look at the same thing but with numbers. So let's start with the tape diagram. So there are kind of two options that we have for drawing our tape diagrams. There's kind of two ways we can think about it. So if we have this example, 2 divided by 1/3, we can think of, we have our tape diagram that has 2 holes in it. And if we divide each of those into 2, there are 3/3 in one hole. So this is the 1, and there are 3/3. 1, 2, 3. So then in 2 holes, we have 6/3. So that's one way we can think about it. We can also think about it as 2 being the value of 1/3. So we have our whole number, don't know what that is yet, and we divide it into thirds, and each of those is equal to 2. So if we have 2, 4, 6, then our whole would be 6. So those are kind of the two ways that you can think about using tape diagrams to divide by fractions. It's up to you which one makes the most sense. We're going to look at both of them, but whichever one kind of makes the most sense for you. So let's take a look at A. We have 4 divided by 1/2. So we have our tape diagram, which in total is going to be representing 4. Now we're not just dividing this in half. We have to divide this first into 4 pieces. Right, so it's kind of like a number line. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. And then each of those we divide in half. So we have 1/2, 2/2, 3/2, 4/2, and so on. So in one whole, so just in one piece, we have 2/2. Well, in 4 holes, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 4 divided by 1/2 gives us 8. So we can also think of this kind of that other way. Instead of 4 being the whole, 4 is the part. So if 4 is 1/2, what's the whole? Well, if 4 is half, then that means the other half is also 4. So then the whole would be 8. All right, either way you look at it, you'll get the same answer. Let's look at another one. We have 2 divided by 1/4. So we're going to draw our 2. Remember, we have to divide that in half first to make our 2. And then we divide into fourths. So in one whole, so that's just in this part, there are 4/4. So in 2 holes, we have 4 plus 1, 2, 3, 4 more, and we have 8/4. So then on the flip side of that, if 2 is 1/4, what is the whole? So if we have our whole, we don't know what it is, but 1/4 of it is 2, then that means that all of these other pieces are also 2. So in total, we have 8. So I want you to pause here, and I want you to try C on your own, and you can unpause to check your answers. All right, so we have 5 divided by 1/3. So we have our whole being 5. And we're going to divide each of them into thirds. So we have to have 5 first. Then we'll divide each of those into thirds. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 wholes. So in one whole, we have 3/3. So in 5 wholes, we can count by 3s. So we have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 thirds. So 5 divided by 1/3 gives us 15. So on the opposite side of that, our other way that we can think about this is we don't know what the whole is, but 1/3 of it is 5. So that means that these other pieces are also 5. So if we count by 5s, 5, 10, 15, our whole is 15. So let's look at one more. So I want you to pause again, try both sides of this, and then unpause and check your answer. So we have 3 divided by 1/5. So we have our whole number being 3. So we divide that into thirds. And then we divide them into fifths. So in one whole, so just in one part, we have 5/5. So in 3 wholes, we have 5, 10, 15. So then on the flip side of that, if 3 is 1/5, what is the whole? So if we don't know what this is, we divide it into fifths, and 3 is one of those, so that means that each of those is equal to 3. We can count by 3s, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. And we still get 15. Now, before we go down to number 2, I want to take one look back through this, and I want to see if we notice anything. So if we have 4 divided by 1/2, that's equal to 8. 2 divided by 1/4 is also equal to 8. Now I'm noticing that our product, or our quotient, our answer, is the same as if we multiplied that whole number times the denominator. Let's check with part C and part D. 5 and 3, if we multiply those, we get 15. 3 and 5, we get 15. So the other way that we can think about this, or that we can divide by a fraction, is we can multiply by the reciprocal. So what that means is, or the way that I like to remember it, is keep change, flip. So we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. We keep our first fraction the same, or our first number. We're going to change that division sign to multiplication, and then we're going to multiply by the reciprocal, or the flipped version of our second fraction. So this is what I mean. If we look at 5 divided by 1/2, I'm going to keep 5. I'm going to change to multiplication, and then I'm going to flip my fraction. So the reciprocal of a number is just the flipped. So it's like it's standing on its head. So the reciprocal of 1/2 would be 2. Reciprocal of 2 would be 1/2. So then when we multiply 5 times 2, we get 10. So let's look at B. So we have 3 divided by 1/2. We're going to keep the 3, change to multiplication, and flip the fraction. Remember that anytime we have a fraction with a denominator of 1, it's the same as seeing a whole number. So 3 times 2 gives us 6. So 3 divided by 1/2 is 6. Let's look at C. We're going to keep our first number, change to multiplication, and flip our second fraction. So 4 divided by 1/5 would be the same as saying 4 times 1/5. That would be equal to 20. So the last one that we'll do together, 1 we'll keep, we'll change to multiplication, and flip our second fraction. So 1 divided by 1/6 is 6. So keeping that in mind, keeping this keep, change, flip in mind, I want you to go ahead and try E, G, and H. You can pause here and try those 4, and then you can pop back in to check your answers when you're done. So for E, we keep the 2, change to multiplication, and flip our 1/8. And we're left with 16. F, we keep the first fraction, or the first number, change to multiplication, and flip our fraction. We have 7 times 6. G, we keep the first, change to multiplication, and flip the second, and we're left with 24. And H, keep the first, change to multiplication, and flip the second, and we're left with 36. Alrighty, so I've got a secret word for you today real quick, and then we'll take a look at your independent practice. Our secret word today is tortilla. So make sure that you have that written down somewhere on your paper. Let's take a look real quick at your independent practice. You have 2 questions, well, technically 3. First one, you're going to draw a tape diagram. It says to use a number line, but you don't need to draw out that number line. So this is just like that first part of our guided practice, so you're going to show it both ways. So 5 divided by 1/2, and then 5 is 1/2 of what number? And 4 divided by 1/4, and 4 is 1/4 of what number? Make sure that you draw those tape diagrams. And number 2, Mrs. Leverens is doing an art project with her class, She has a 3-foot piece of ribbon, and if she gives each student an eighth of the ribbon, will she have enough for her class of 22 students? So if she has her 3-foot piece divided by 1/8 foot, will that be enough for 22 kids? Will she have enough to give 22 students? So that is your independent practice. Remember, if you run into any problems or have any questions or get stuck on anything, please let me know or let Miss Sally know. We are both here and we are happy to help. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see y'all tomorrow.